Welcome everyone to another episode of Grip Sport Latino. Today, Jed Johnson is our honorable guest. How are you today, Jed?
Hey, I'm doing great. Just back from nationals. Managed to pull off a big win in a very tough contest. Had my first training session Tuesday, trained last night. Feeling pretty good. I'm taking it a little bit easy after all the travel. That was the biggest, most demanding thing of it. But doing great, buddy. How are you doing?
I am super happy, super hyped because I think there were many contests this past weekend, super important ones. And
Mm-hmm.
super important to me because I hosted my first competition, so I am super happy with that as well. And to give it a little context to the audience, before the contest, we had a meeting and you gave me many valuable advice. And I am very thankful for that because it was super useful. Super useful. And we were chatting afterwards saying, man, we should do like a little episode for our YouTube channels. So here we are to go over those important topics. And by the way, did you go in your car or in an airplane to nationals in the US?
Oh, no. That was a flight, buddy. I don't know how long it would take to drive across the United States. It was in California and I'm in Pennsylvania, so we're talking probably 3,000 miles. There's no way I'd be able to handle that trip.
It's like a Route 66. I'm not sure. Like, wow, hitting the road, man, hitting the road.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The road would be hitting me.
And congratulations for your wing. Which weights could you pull on the contest?
I appreciate it. I did let's see. I did 185 kilos on the axle, 407 pounds. I did 155 kilos on the Saxon bar, 275 pounds. I did 90 kilos on the 2.5 inch crusher, so 198 pounds. On the little bighorn, I got 100 kilos, 220 pounds. On the silver bullet, I did a 224 rated number 4 for 12 seconds. And then out of 22 items in the medley, I got 16 for first place.
Nice, super
Yeah.
nice. Congratulations, Jed. Super
Thanks,
inspirational.
brother. Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. So let's imagine that we didn't have like a past weekend contest, and I know nothing about hosting a venue. So if you're new here and you want to host a venue, this is like maybe the frequently asked questions for new contest promoters. So the
Yeah.
first question that I had was, weigh-ins, when should they be? How much time before the contest should I have before like starting lifting, between weigh-ins and started the lifting?
Okay. So the standard is a 2 hour weigh in. So if the contest starts at 10 a.m., which is very common in the United States, then the weigh ins would start at 8 a.m. There has been a very small number of contests where we did weigh-ins the night before, but by far the standard is 2 hour weigh-in, and I think that is the standard to keep. So that's really what it should be the majority of the time. The only time I've ever run a contest where it was done the night before was when I was at when I did nationals in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So I actually left on a Thursday, or rather Friday, before a contest, and then I allowed people to come to the hotel and step on the scale to get their way in. But honestly, I think it's better to stick with 2 hours.
Okay, because I asked that because it's like, what do you do in those 2 hours? It's like,
Yeah. That's so generally when people are close to a weight class, they're going to weigh in at 8 o'clock and then they're going to go get their food and drink for breakfast time. And then they might also do some grocery shopping for food during the contest. But they're allowed to do whatever they want to. They can go back to their hotel room. They can use the bathroom, maybe gather their clothes or something like that, their equipment bag. They're allowed to do anything. But what we usually do here at my gym is weigh-ins at 8 o'clock. Then people will either leave and go do something, or if they stay, then I say warm-ups can begin at 9 o'clock. What that means is they can go through like a full body warm up, or they can start testing the first implement, or they can start testing the other implements, try to compare how the implements at the contest are going to be compared to their own training implement. And then at 9:30, we usually start doing the rules for the first event, just to make sure everybody understands what the rules are. Sometimes we'll cover the rules for all the events just to make sure everybody knows them. It just depends on how many people are at the contest that are highly experienced. If everybody already has an idea of how the events are going to run, then we'll just do all the rules right at the beginning, just as a refresher, just to knock out any questions. If there are people that are more beginners, then we're going to do the rules separately for each event. So we're going to take about 10 minutes to cover the rules, both in written format and answer questions prior to each event as they come in the contest.
Perfect. Yet, since I don't live in the US, I am from Chile, so I had to send the results and the weights to you and to Eric Rusain. So,
Yes.
when should a promoter send the results of the contest after the contest has been held?
Yeah. The sooner the better, obviously, because then they're in our hands and we don't have to chase them down. But generally, if you can get them to us within 24 hours, that's perfectly fine. The thing is, the quicker you get them to us, Eric does all the data entry. Like I might do one contest a year, maybe. He does all of them. He's got the process locked down. He knows how to do that and he can knock it right out. Um, so people send them to me sometimes and I just forward them to Eric. But Eric's doing them when he has opportunities to do them. So the quicker you get them to Eric, that will give him more opportunity to enter all the events. Maybe he'll do one or two events at a time and then wait a day or something like that. But he's usually got those into the database always within a week, sometimes within a day. I mean, I think he had all of the results from both the Canadian Nationals and the United States Nationals by Monday, and he may have even gotten all of your results in by then too. I'm not 100% sure.
It was like that, yes, like a clockwork. Yeah,
Yeah. He's amazing. He's amazing. It's
yes.
not an easy process to enter that data. It's um a lot of data entry, a lot of different cells. You've got to enter all uh the athletes' names, their weights, their ages, all of the events are entered basically separately. So, and because I do it so infrequently, I'm very rusty. Whereas because he does it so often, he can kind of knock it out real good. But one thing we do ask is that it's sent in a spreadsheet format. Eric can process that information quite a bit easier from an Excel spreadsheet than he can, say, on a Grip board post or a Word document. But sometimes, like he has free time, and I'll put the post up on the Grip board, and he'll go through and he'll process all the data from that before I even have the chance to send the spreadsheet into him. But without a doubt, it's easiest if we can get that spreadsheet to him generally within 24 hours.
Perfect. Well, in the case of our contest, the Genesis Grip contest, we had calibrated plates, and so the way knowing the weights was easy. In the case that someone wants to host a contest and has like just standard plates, non-calibrated, how does it work to declare the attempt and all the stuff?
Okay. So back in the day, I took all of my plates that I was ever going to plan on using for a contest to the post office, and I wrote down an identifying number and the weight on the plate. So if you watch like a live stream for my contest, a lot of times I'll say put plate 24 on, which is a 10-pound plate.
Okay,
And all those weights that we need are just like in piles around the platform. And then I'll have maybe one of my lifters from my gym come and assist and they'll load that plate on. So then I take the weight that is on the plate and it's also in a spreadsheet, and I copy and paste that into a formalized column on my spreadsheet, and it adds it up right away. So within seconds, I'm able to tell people what the weight is. But so that, to go back to what your question was, you can take the plates to a post office or you can get a highly accurate scale. So what I would say is, if anyone is not, see, what we're looking for is we're looking for a calibrated or a certified scale. Post office scales have to be certified every so often. So that is why I often suggest people go to the post office. If anyone is not able to do that, I would ask that they send me the information, as much information as they can about the scale that they have, so that we can verify that it's accurate enough to be used as a scale to weigh plates. What I've found is that some people thought, I have a couple YouTube videos up about the scales that I've used over the years, and people were like, "Hey, what scale do you use to weigh your lifts?" Because sometimes when I'm trying to show, "Hey, I got a PR on Little Bighorn, I'm going to scale the weight, it's 234 pounds," they think that I'm doing something that is for an official grip contest. That is not at all the case. It's that is just to show that more or less this weighs 234 pounds on my scale. That's not to say you can use that scale to weigh your plates for a grip contest. I have never done that. That is not what I've used my scales for. All of my weights that have been weighed on a scale for grip contest purposes have been taken to the post office. So I've had a really good relationship for close to 20 years with the people that run the post office here in town. And they know I'm not going to come in at lunchtime when there's 14 people in there waiting to send something out. I'm going to go during downtime. I might bring 2, 4, 6 plates in at a time, and then I'll be out of there and I'm not in their hair. So it takes a little bit to develop that relationship. I'm sure they wouldn't just let anybody go in there and weigh anything. I've never seen anybody else go in there and weigh something on their scale besides me. So, yeah.
Perfect. Another question that I had when we first met, it was like, which are the competition styles existing in GSI? Because uh, before Genesis Grip Contest, I just went to Skilled Hands 2022, and it was last man standing. So, which are the styles of competition?
Mhm. There's two styles. Both are rising bar. So people think there's like three styles, or they think that rising bar is one style. Rising bar simply means that once you put weight on there, you can't go back down. So if someone misses 100 pounds on something, they can't on their next attempt go to 90 pounds. This is a rising bar. So both the GSI method that we use of 4 attempts and unlimited attempts in a last man standing format, they're both rising bar.
Okay.
The difference is, I'll cover last man standing first. You could end up with 20 attempts. If you take 20 attempts, I think you're being a little excessive, and I think you're actually hurting your chances. But basically, let's say the lift is Little Bighorn, and we're going to start at 100 pounds, and we're going to go in 10-pound jumps. So generally, everybody hits the opening weight. Okay. And then we're going to increase by 10 pounds. So you have 110, 120, 130, 140. At any time after the 100 pounds, if you want to take an attempt, you can jump in. There's just no saying you have to. Okay.
Okay.
So you can pass any attempt that you'd like in a last man standing format. The other format that doesn't really have a name is simply we have whoever is starting out at the lightest weight is going to go first. And then again, we have standardized attempts. So if it's a Little Bighorn, maybe we're going to start at 100 pounds. The next weight is 110. If that person's max lift ever in their career is 130, then they better take 110, right? Or maybe not 110, but they better take 120 because you've only got 4 attempts in this format. Okay. So
Yes.
it's unlimited attempts in last man standing. It's limited attempts to 4 in the other one. Now with warm-ups in the 4 attempt for max weight, you can go up to the platform, say warm up, and then take a lift, because this allows you to gradually work up, but you have to clearly notify the judge and say this is a warm up. And what we do here is we'll take the crossbar off the platform real quick to even visually show that it's a warm up. Okay. So those are the differences between last man standing and the other one, which I guess you could call rising bar, but they're both rising bar.
I call it like 4 attempts right now. It's like
Yeah.
okay, 4 attempts.
Yeah, we can do that. You got 4 attempts, you got unlimited attempts with last man standing.
Perfect. Well, in Genesis grip contest, we had the grippers as the first discipline, then finish ball, blockbuster, and little bighorn. I asked you the heights of each of the events.
Hey,
Is
really
there
quick, can I interrupt you on something really quick? I
sure?
think we passed over something slightly.
Yeah.
We do allow in grippers for you to drop down.
Yes.
That is one of the few events in Grip Sport International that you can drop down. So you can go up there and you can, on your first attempt, you can try 175 pounds. If you don't get it, then you can drop down. But that is not allowed in the other lifts.
So if you fail your opener, can you go down as well?
Yes, on grippers. On grippers.
Oh, on grippers, yeah. I didn't knew that because we had a female athlete in my venue, and it was the first time that she touched grippers. So the first one that she tried was the sport, and she failed. And I was like, oh no, she's going to fail like the first lift of the tournament.
Sure.
Luckily, I packed the guide, and she could do it, and it was like, oh, at least she's going to have the first attempt. But I didn't knew that you could go lower, because in example there was we did the contest in a CrossFit gym, so the guys from the gym wanted to compete, and they were like, no, I'm going to start with 120, not knowing how to set a gripper and stuff. So
Yeah.
I was like, man, try them first, and then you can
Yeah.
see if you can do it. But yeah, it's good to know that you can like go down even from your first gripper
Yeah.
close, the
I,
outlier of the GSI.
it seems like there's one other event in grip sport that you can go down in, but I can't think of what it is. It's really rare. It's rarely contested. I can't even remember what it is, but it seems like there's one other one.
Okay. Well, about the heights, where can people check the heights? I mean, there's the King Kong rules book, but there are other lifts. But where can I see which are the official heights for GSI?
So we have 3 official heights that I'm aware of. Well, there's 4. And it all goes back to whoever like invented the lift. Okay. So the first ever lift that had a height gauge was the 2-hand pinch. So the rules used to be on 2-hand pinch from David Horn. They were very hard to translate, very hard to interpret.
Okay.
So what we said was, we're not doing that. We're going to do to a height gauge. So we set it up so there was a concrete block standing up, and then we put a yardstick across the concrete block, and you had to touch the concrete block. And David Horn liked that so much that he adapted it. So it was 16 and a half inches. So what that is, when the Euro is standing with the pipe level, that makes a 7.5-inch lift.
Okay.
So that's why Euro and 2-hand flask, 1-hand Euro, 1-hand flask, that's why those are 7.5 inches. Okay.
Okay.
Just about everything else is 6 inches. until you get to the grip tops. And then I think all of those are 13 inches. And then the pickaxe lift is 30 inches. Why? I don't know. I could not tell you. And then the sledge choke is to 18 inches. So is this stuff confusing? Yes. Is it harder to judge lockout on a grip event? Yes. So we have those height indicators. What I'm going to be working on is, now that I have ownership of the Grip Sport website, I'm going to list all of the heights for all of the lifts on that website as an easy reference. In fact, another thing that we're going to be working on as a team is we're going to have all of the rules for all of the lifts on the contest, or on the site, for all the lifts in the Grip Sport contest. So
Perfect.
until then, there's a few ways to figure out what the proper height is. First off, anyone can message me through Facebook, Instagram, email, text message, whatever. I'm happy to just tell you. Second is through the rules document for a King Kong contest or any other past contest that took place. Next would be David Horn's World of Grip website, because all of them are listed on there. Especially, this would be mostly important for the grip tops. In fact, if someone asks me what the proper height is for the grip tops, I always go and look. It's been a while, so I don't always remember. But those, or if it's a lift that was created by a certain company, then you can go to their website and figure it out. But always, you can feel free to contact me and I'll get you the answer.
I can imagine that the finish ball 13 inches height is it's because the grip tops, right?
Yeah, I think the way that worked is uh when that Finnish company came out with that, they asked David Horn to maintain the records list and he accepted. So I think in some way that was it, they adopted the grip tops rules. It's also a very similar lift to the grip tops. It's a very similar setup to the grip tops because it connects to an open-ended loading pin and then it's pinned in place. So yeah.
Perfect. Yet, I want to know which are the minimum weight increases in a GSI competition? Because, in example, in powerlifting, you have to add 2.5 kilograms each lift, unless you are like attempting a national record and stuff like that. How does it work in grip sport?
Honestly, I don't think there's a standard as far as the minimal lifts. I think it's usually done depending on the lift. So 10-pound jumps on the little bighorn is acceptable. 10-pound jumps on the axle is acceptable, because these are actually minor jumps compared to the weight that you're going to do on the lift in most cases. However, if it's something like finish ball, then we usually use 2.5-pound jumps, or about a kilogram, because you don't want 10-pound jumps on the finish ball, because that's a lot of weight for the finish ball. It can turn from very light to a boat anchor in just 10 pounds being added. Heck, even with 2.5 pounds being added, it can
Yeah,
it can be that hard. But as far as I know, there isn't a real standard. It may be something we should look into at some point. But um, I I think there's a common number that's used for every lift in most cases anyway.
perfect. So it can be like up to the promoter how much is it of a jump?
Yeah, it can, because part of it is you have to realize, you have to understand who's coming to your contest. And if the competitors are highly experienced, then they're going to be very confident in selecting their jumps. Whereas a new person, they may not know what the best jumps would be. It could be their first contest. They may never had their hands on Little Bighorn. They have no idea what they're doing. So you want to offer them, a reasonable jump. So 10-pound jumps is a reasonable jump for a new person, a reasonable jump for an experienced person. It's kind of middle of the ground. The problem is, if you allow 2.5 pound jumps on a little bighorn, you're going to be in that contest for a long time because a lot of people could end up just taking 2.5 pound jumps and eating up a lot of time in the contest. So there's a lot of factors, helping everybody do the best they possibly can, but also controlling the time of the contest. It's a balance.
Perfect. Yet for GSI contest, is there any like maximum number of trips to the platform established anywhere?
It's 4 attempts, four trips to the platform.
But in the case of last man standing, is there any
Okay.
like maximum amount of attempts that or trips to the platform that you can do because the weight is
Not that I know
rising?
of. Yeah, not that I know of. Not that I know of. If you've established a 2.5 pound jump on the lift and they go up there and on their 10th attempt they get it and they want to take another one, they can take another one. If they get it, they can take another one. So yeah. I will throw in there that uh this isn't necessarily standard, but if someone is going for a weight class record or a world record, then we allow a smaller jump than what's been established for that contest so that they can just break the record. And we don't have any minimum amount of weight that you have to break a record by. So if you could break it by a few ounces and you would get the world record. So let's say the world record on two-hand pinch, I think, is like 274 pounds and change. We're not going to make them break it by 2 pounds. We're going to allow them to break it by a few ounces. So 275 would be a new world record.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yes, perfectly. Let's see. Jed, when you are doing a last man standing contest, is there a given order for the lifters to do their attempts?
Not really, but what I try to do is, let's say you have five competitors that are all going right about the same time. So let's
Okay.
say let's say it's 200 pounds on Little Bighorn and five different competitors are hitting 200 pounds. And you have competitor A, B, C, D, and E. I try to have them go in the same order each time so that everybody gets the same amount of rest. So people can't say, I'll wait till those guys go and then they get more rest. I try to keep it in the same order as much as possible.
Perfect.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, because well, in our contest we had a guy behind the computer, and he had like the established order like in advance, so we can have the list and know who comes first and who comes last, and maintain that order if we
Yeah.
do a last man standing
Yeah, I think
format.
that's fine. The only thing would be is if they skipped attempts, you wouldn't make them go on the higher attempt and then take the weight back off and have the next person go. So sometimes that order that you establish gets defeated by the weights that the people select for their attempts.
Yeah, and yet once the setup is ready, like the weight tower and the implement, and the judge announces it, how much time does each athlete have to perform their attempt?
So there's usually either okay, so there's a couple variations of this. Years ago, the standard was once you're called, you go up, you can take as much time to chalk it, take your grip, and give it a pull, but you only got one pull.
Oh,
You didn't have multiple attempts with a time limit. We instituted time limits at some point, and I don't know when that was. So during that time limit, you can go up and you can take as many pulls on it as you want. Uh, there's generally either 30 seconds or 60 seconds. And usually that's dictated by the number of competitors. So if you've got five competitors that are highly experienced, you can probably get away with 30 seconds and it's no problem because those guys know what they're doing. They're going to go up there, they're going to situate everything, how they need it, and they're going to take a pull, maybe two. That's all they need. If you have a whole bunch of people, or and what I'm saying is you could also make that 60 seconds to give them an even better chance at being successful. Those mastery level competitors. But if you've got 20 competitors and you don't want to be there 8 hours, you might want to cut that time limit down to 30 seconds. Okay. So you got a couple of options there based on the expertise of the people that are competing.
Perfect.
The only time you have to worry about the specific time limit is if, let's say, with King Kong or Napalm's Nightmare World Championships, if the head promoter, Eric Rassane or myself, say 30 seconds per competitor, then you need to do 30 seconds at all the satellite venues. If they say 60 seconds and you look and there's 90 people that came to your contest, you may want to cut that down or else you're going to be there all day. See what I'm
Perfect.
saying? It's again, it's a balance between allowing for top performance and getting through the contest in a manageable amount of time. Chances are, after like two pulls on a lift, I'll be honest, it's very rare to see someone get a successful pull unless their technique is really bad and all of a sudden on the third or fourth pull they actually do better technique and then they'll get the lift.
It actually happened in my competition because there was one of the CrossFit guys that never tried a pinch block, and the blockbuster is wide. So the first like 3 or 4 pulls, he couldn't do it, and then they scream at him, "Hey, 10 seconds to go!" And he was like, "Oh, right now!" And he managed it, and he did it with the pressure, but it's like a one timer because you can see the other guys that if they don't do it on the first or second attempt, no chance.
Yeah. A lot of times if my hands are even and let's say it's a certain event and my hands are pretty much even on the event. If it's 60 seconds, I'll take my first pull, maybe right, second pull left, and then I'll wait until there's like 45 seconds before I even go again. Okay. If it's 30 seconds, that's not much time to rest.
Yeah,
So it can it can help the contest speed up really quickly if you go 30 seconds.
perfect. Yet another
Remember,
yes.
let's say it's attempt number 2 and you're going for a PR. So maybe it's Napalm's Nightmare. You're going for 375 pounds, 2 3/8 inches, and you miss on your second attempt. You still got 2 more attempts. So it might be better for you not to waste energy taking extra pulls in that time limit.
Yeah,
Because when you follow yourself in the contest, you get a 2-minute break. It might be better just to wait those 2 minutes and then come back and hit it fresher.
exactly. Yet when we did our previous meeting, I wanted to know about medleys. We haven't done, to my knowledge, any medleys in Chile. So, which are the numbers of disciplines that you used to have on a medley, and how does it take to? I mean, how many minutes do you have to complete it? How does it work?
That's really up to the promoter and the difficulty level of the medley. I've been in competitions such as the Grip contest where you've got 30 to 50 challenges. So time limits could be 4 or 5 minutes.
Okay,
But let me tell you something, man. That takes a lot of time. That eats up a lot of time in your day for that event. If we look at this past weekend at Nationals with the medley,
yes,
there were 22 challenges for the men. We got 2 minutes to complete the challenges. So I think 2 minutes is probably like an average. I won't say it's the standard, but I would say it's the average for medleys. Um, So did you guys do a medley?
No, we didn't because well, it was the first contest and it was a like an occasion for testing everything for the first time. We started
Sure.
at 8 a.m. and we ended up finishing everything at 5 p.m. So it took a while to do the contest.
Yeah.
So if we
Yeah.
added a medley over that, first the first thing was that we had no energy left for a medley,
Sure.
and the
Sure.
second we didn't have like enough loading pins and stuff. So this time we didn't do it, but we want to in the
Yeah.
future.
So have you heard of the Canary Islands medley?
Never. What's that about?
Okay, so that's what we did this weekend. So uh when I first got into Grip, I had a subscription to Milo, which was the old journal slash magazine for Iron Mind.
Okay.
Read an article in one of those old issues about the Canary Islands festivals where they did plow lifting. So a plow is an implement that is pulled behind like a cow or an ox, and it actually cuts into the land to make the rows for corn or whatever,
Okay.
soybeans, whatever. I don't know. So they used to have competitions where they would lift these plows by the end into a vertical position. And the winner of the plow lifting championships was the person who could lift their plow and as many of the other plows that were brought to the festival. So they could make the plow as heavy as they wanted to. But in order to win, they still had to lift theirs and then as many of the other ones that were around. So you could make it long with big leverage, or you could make it shorter with a lot of weight. So I've always remembered this. I always thought that was fantastic. In fact, I have videos on YouTube doing the plow lift. Um, at Gripmas a couple years ago, I held it here at my gym because Chris Andre didn't have a gym to run it in. So we did a Canary Islands medley. Actually, I called it Napalm's Island medley. But
Awesome.
but we used the premise of the Canary Islands plow lifting championships. So I think we chose 5 items apiece. We had to lift all 5 of our items, and then we'd go lift all the other items. So at Nationals last year, we did the same thing. It was Canary Islands rules medley. And each person brought or selected from my collection one item, as difficult as you wanted to make it. And again, you had to lift your item first and then do as many of the other items in the medley as possible in order to win. What we did last weekend was, because there were only 10 or 12 men competitors, it was 11 men competitors. We each selected 2. Make them as hard as you want, but you had to do your challenge items first and then as many of the other ones. So it works out really good because then it kind of takes the pressure off the promoter to come up with a good medley,
Yeah.
because the competitor can make it as tough as they want to. What happens at a lot of medleys is you end up with medleys that are medley items that are better suited for very large-handed individuals, inch dumbbell, heavy blobs, things along those lines. And it really takes a lot of the competitors out of the equation because they don't have the hand size or the experience to be able to lift those items. So it can backfire though, because last last year at Nationals, I actually expected it to be a really brutal medley. We had lots of people come in that were very, very highly skilled, and a lot of people just didn't select hard items. So I was anticipating being the only person to finish the medley,
Yes.
but we actually had like 5 people that completed the medley.
Oh.
So it was kind of a disappointment. Like there was some stuff that was like 20 pounds added on to a handle. I mean, it just wasn't challenging at all.
Mm.
And it ended up being like 2 or 3 items out of those 15 that were really, really high, substantial medley items.
Jet, I'm curious, which items did you brought to California this weekend?
So I didn't take anything to California. No, that's not true. I I wanted I wanted to have the inch dumbbell in there, but
Like,
there's no way there's no way I'm taking that across country.
yeah.
So instead, what I did is I took a number 4, very low rated, 197, and I made it a silver bullet lift. So you could set it, put the bullet in, stand up with it, and that's a good lift. And I figured since it was number 4, I'd probably be the only one to do it. As it turned out, I was right. The other item that I chose was a Fat Man Blob. And I'm not sure who brought it, but I think I'm the only person. I'm pretty sure I'm the only person that lifted that as well. So there's 2 out of 6 out of 22 items that were very, very hard, but I knew that I could do them any day of the week as long as I didn't like rip an arm off in one of the other events. So so those were the 2 things I chose.
I am also curious, Jet. Uh, there were 22 items, and you could
Mhm.
finish 16, right?
Yes.
Which ones couldn't you compete? Like, I am curious, which
There,
were like the challenge
dude,
that defeated you this time?
yes. It was in a way, it was the hardest medley I've ever done. Usually in a medley, I get all of them or maybe miss 1 or 2. Uh so Mike Gentili chose a 70-pound kettlebell, and you had to do that rotation thing where it
Oh,
sets on its side and you got to turn it over. I haven't trained that in years. I gave it a half-assed attempt. I didn't even come close. It kind of makes me obsess about it. I've been thinking about it quite a bit because I think I could probably do it if I figured out the technique, but I didn't even know the technique. Michael Thomas brought a power twister, one of those things. It's a big spring, and you have to. So he had us do it underhand and
oh,
then bring it together. I've used those half a dozen times in my life. I half-ass attempted it, dude. I tried at the end. It couldn't get it. Michael also selected a Jack LaLanne 45-pound hub lift. And the hub on that thing was like this high
oh.
and about this big around. It was crazy. I think he's the only person that got that.
Sounds
And
like
then AJ,
sounds like a shallow bull ring, something like that.
yes, yeah, yeah, exactly. There were also a couple items that AJ Rakatari chose. One was a hilt with like 250 pounds on it. Couldn't even come close. And I gave that a real try. Tuna quarter crusher with 200 plus on it. I gave it a good hard try. Couldn't get it. So that's 5. I'm not sure what the 6th item was, to be honest with you, but they were feats that I just wasn't familiar with. So they got the best of me. But the best behind me, the highest total was 15. So I was still able to win the event.
Who was the second on that medley?
I can tell you for sure in a minute, but I'm pretty sure that Mike Gentili got 15. And uh I think John Macknick also got 15.
Oh, yeah.
Um the scores are on the grip board. I can tell you if you just bear with me for 1 second. So on the medley, okay, Mike Gentili got 15, John Macknick got 14, and AJ Rakatari got 14.
Nice. Well,
So it was
it's going
tough.
to be a challenge for us to do a medley here in Chile soon.
Yeah, yeah. The what I would do, since you don't have a lot of lifters that are highly experienced, is maybe like the first couple medleys that you run, have like 1 or 2 that are really hard items, and then the other ones just be kind of middle of the ground,
Yeah.
minor technicality, and then over time you can start ratcheting it up. Another thing that I've done in medleys, which was really possible or really popular, is I would set up groupings of medley items. So maybe they were all blobs or pinch items, block weights. And if you got all five, you could do a bonus lift on a sixth one. So that caught on for a while. The other thing you could do is you can have maybe 15 items. And if you get them all, you can start repping out on like the hardest one. That was another thing that I've thought about doing in the past. So there's a lot of possibilities there. Because the medley is just basically lift it up, or if it's a lever, you're going to lever it. If it's a gripper, you're going to close it. Because it's really straightforward, there's freedom there. It's not a standardized, measured, followed, tracked event of any sort. So you can do basically whatever you want to with the medley.
Excellent.
You could have it, you could even have it where you get 1 point for deadlifting it, 2 points for cleaning it, 3 points for snatching it, 4 points for curling it. I mean, it's the possibilities are endless. It just depends on how long you want to think about it and come up with variations.
Excellent. Jed, I want to know your opinion about being a host and being a judge and competing in your venue. What's your take on that? Because I had that I was worried about that. I ended up being promoter, judge, loader, and athlete, and it was hard, but it was cool, and I'm going to do it again. But it's hard, man.
Well, you
I
should
ended up
take
tired.
pride. You should take pride in the fact that you did all that. What I would suggest is to try to find some friends or something that can at least take one or two of those jobs off your plate. That is exhausting, especially when you have to leave the booth, leave the table, go change the weights, go back to the table and start documenting and judging. It's so much. You
Yeah,
must have been
I must say,
exhausted.
I must say, I had one friend, Nico. He was judge with me, and another friend, Pablo. He was the guy behind the computer. So I didn't have like all of the events over my plate. But yeah,
Yeah.
I need more judges and I need loaders for the next event. Definitely.
If you have a guy that's keeping track of everything on a computer or even on a sheet of paper, they can easily do the judging, no problem. What I try to do is try to get one of my kids from the gym to help me out for loading.
Okay,
And I always have a secondary judge for when I go. And it usually ends up being the most experienced competitor from the field of competitors.
perfect.
I don't
So
think I've ever had a designated judge that just sat there and judged. I think that's really a waste of a person because anybody can judge, especially on the crossbar lifts. Anybody can do that.
perfect. And another interesting question from the last time. Liquid chalk. It is forbidden on King Kong rules. I have never used it, but I wanted you to tell us why is it forbidden?
It comes down to one instance. So are you familiar with Mighty Mets that used contests that used to take place at the Arnold for several years?
Yes.
So one year, and I don't remember when it was, but I was injured, so I couldn't compete, but I watched. And I took myself out of the competition due to my injury. And then I wrote them at the very end. I said, hey, I've had a pretty good recovery. I could probably do the contest. But the lineup was already configured. So they made me an alternate. But the reason that the liquid chalk is outlawed now is because they were using liquid chalk up on the stage. And after the contest, I went up and shook everybody's hand. Hey, great job. You did great. And everyone's hand that was using liquid chalk was sticky. Everybody's. So even though the competitor might not be able to feel it. Now, I will say, I don't want to get sued by liquid chalk because they're going to come say it's not an adhesive. I don't know what they were using on the stage. It could have been something besides liquid chalk. There's a lot of liquid chalk-like products out there, right?
Yeah.
But I spoke with Eric Rusain to get his thoughts, and he agreed that liquid chalk should not be permitted of any sort. So even though it may not contain something on there that is considered an adhesive, their hands were definitely sticky.
Perfect. One of the last questions of this video yet. Um, I know that the Little Bighorn has an advantage for left-handed lifters. You do the torsion, that like the twisting technique, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, what should we do to like fix this problem for right-handed lifters with the Little Bighorn? Because if you do the technique, the torsion technique, it will unscrew. What should we
Yeah.
do, Jet?
Screw the right-handed people. Deal with it. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. What you can do is there's a there's a product that it's just two solutions, and you mix them together, they become like a bonding agent, and you can put that in the threads of the little bighorn and then put it in there, and it dries, it cures, and then it secures that device so it won't rotate. And I forget what it's called. Um,
It's like thread locking something or
It's a
thread lock.
thread locking, yeah, a thread locking mixture. Yeah. It might be called quick shoot. I had it on the tip of my tongue. It might be called JB Weld. It might be called JB Weld. And there's probably multiple types out there, but that'll do the trick, and it ain't coming out of there.
I
It ain't
I
coming.
I went to Amazon to check after we had our meeting, and it was like many options with the blue and the red packaging, and it was perfect. I bought it to Chile, and I did the like the fixing with the little bit corner, and it was perfect. In fact,
Yep.
I could do a PR on my right hand thanks to that. So thanks
Yeah.
again for the help. Yeah, it
It's
was super
it's
good.
it's a it's a flaw in the implement. And when you consider that the people that run Iron Mine don't do grip, they probably never even considered it. So, um, it's just something that you have to do.
I actually wanted to mention that I asked you if we could weld the eye bolt to the little bighorn. Is it allowed or is it forbidden? What's your take on that?
I don't see why it wouldn't be allowed, as long as you're not creating, like, as long as you don't get the slag or, some kind of modification onto the handle where you can get like a dig on it. But there may be people out there that have welded them. One thing I know that you can't weld cast iron. You have to do a different
Mm.
process, I think, called brazing. I don't know if the little bighorn is cast iron. I don't know. And I don't know if the process is different for stainless steel. I just don't know. I
Okay.
know that it's also different for aluminum. The way that you have to weld on aluminum is different. But and I could have the name wrong. It might not be called brazing. That might be something else, but I know the process is a little bit different. It's probably just easier to get the bonding agent.
Brazing is what you shouldn't do with your lifts.
Yeah, that's bracing. Bracing is what
Bracing,
you should not do.
bracing.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Perfect. Jed, and one last question, and this one came up to me like these days because a huge bottleneck that we had in our venue was the crossbar. Every time anyone did like a heavy lift, like big effort, they touched the knock bar with the crossbar, and the setup was to the ground all the times, and we were like, oh fuck, and we had to put it up together again and measure again and stuff. How do you
Yeah.
address that to have like a stable crossbar? How do you do it?
If you'd like, my setup is right back behind here. I can go grab mine.
Yeah, please show me.
Okay.
We need inspiration, and the ones that don't have any crossbar setup or people who don't know where to start or where to buy one, it will be really good if you show us.
Sure. So ours don't usually fall down. One thing that I would suggest that's related to this topic is to get yourself a crossbar that's very light. So this is just plastic.
Oh,
Okay.
oh, nice.
If you have a crossbar that's too heavy, it can actually cause problems where it could knock it out of someone's hand.
Mm,
Okay. So I would go with plastic. This is it's plastic of some sort. I'm not sure. I would not recommend aluminum. Aluminum bends, and then once you bend it, you can't get it straight.
mm,
This springs right back. So get that.
nice.
Uh Next. Uh I know there's several companies out there that make the the tower for the crossbar. You want to make sure that you have a heavy base on it.
Okay,
So this is steel. It's pretty broad, so it doesn't tip very easy. The vertical shaft is also made out of steel, so it's dense, it's heavy, it's not going anywhere. And then what we have these J hooks welded onto this piece that you can adjust up and down on the vertical shaft, and then it's tightened down with a T screw, which I'm using words that I always use. I don't know what this thing is called. I call it a T screw.
okay,
But you can see that it screws out pretty far. You can tighten it right in.
nice.
Okay. So you can adjust this really easily. So like, in King Kong, a lot of times you'll go like crusher, flask, finish ball. So you got to be able to move this, right? So you got to have that mobility. And this allows you to move it very, very quickly, adjust it whenever you need to.
Perfect.
So then you get it where you need it. You check your measurement between the knock bar and the crossbar, and then you tighten it up real good, and you should be in pretty good shape. If someone forgets the crossbars there, walks into it, knocks it over, you want to just check your height to make sure it didn't slide or something like that. But
Okay,
there's lots of different variations on this. There's no real standard. It's just got to make sure it's got to work that it's adjustable and you can set it up high enough. That's all.
perfect. Well, Jed, I wanted to thank you for this interview. It was really useful before the contest, and it's really good to go over this topic again because I want to do more contests, and I know many people from the world will benefit from knowing this. And well, I guess they can reach you out like I did if they have any questions for promoting any contest. And so, thanks again for your time, and it was really nice talking to you once again.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. I've done calls with lots of promoters over the years to help them get their footing with this and increase their confidence so that they can go and have a good, successful contest where everything's positive and they feel really good about their decision to run the contest. And I welcome people to reach out to me and ask questions. My email address is jed.diesel@gmail.com. And please email me there because I also have an email address that I had to start that is tied to my newsletter.
Okay.
And this email address sucks. It's the account sucks. It's like it looks like the email address I had 20 plus years ago when I was in college.
Okay.
It's just not good. And I get anytime that someone opens an email, I get an email notification and they all look exactly the same. And I just would hate for anyone's email to get buried in this system and I not see it. And then they think I'm not listening to them or something. So by far, I suggest jed.diesel@gmail.com for reaching out to me or Facebook, Instagram, text, etc.
Excellent. Thanks again, Jed. And Don't miss any of the new episodes of season 4 of Grip Sport Latino, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to Jet's channel as well. What's the name of your channel, Jet?
You can find me if you look up Jed Johnson with 2 Ds, and I think my name on there now is at Grip Strength. I don't know how that happened. All of a sudden, every time that I make a post on a YouTube video, it says my name is Grip Strength, which I'm okay with that.
It's a
But
nice
I don't
name.
know yeah, I don't know how it happened. I have no idea how that happened.
Perfect. Well, stay tuned, guys, and see you on the next episode. Bye, my friends.